Lesson 3, the treble clef. In this lesson, we'll focus on the treble clef, but the same principle will guide us when we study the bass clef. As we mentioned before, the treble clef is mainly used for the right hand playing of the piano, and the higher registers of the keyboard. The treble clef shows us where the G note is located on the staff. This G is the specific G above middle C. The shape of the treble clef contains a small inner space that looks like the elliptic circle of the note head. The location of the circle will mark that G note for us. This G appears only on the second line of the staff and nowhere else. Every time we'll see a note drawn on the second line of the staff, we know to play the G above middle C. Once we can spot this G note, we can also spot the notes downwards and upwards from it. The note after G going up is A. When we go up a step on the keyboard, we go a half step up on the staff. In other words, we'll take our note head up a step to the space above the second line, and that's how we get the A note on the staff. We'll continue learning other notes using the same principle, this time going down. The note that comes before G on the keyboard is F. So in this case, we have to go down a step on the keyboard and the staff accordingly. This means we move the note head down to the space between the first and second line, and that's how we write the F note. Now let's continue. The note that comes before F on the keyboard is E. E is located on the first line of the staff. D, below the first line. And now, according to what we've been saying, comes middle C. But we're out of lines. In order to solve this problem, we'll draw an imaginary line parallel to the bottom of the staff. This line is called a ledger line, and we can place the middle C on it. We don't need to draw an entire extra line. Just a small line to mark the spot will do. If we draw a note head under this ledger line, we'll get a B note. For an A note, we're out of lines again, so we will draw a second ledger line on which we will place the A note. For the G note, we'll just draw the note head under the second ledger line. The F under the middle C will be placed on a third ledger line. Theoretically, we can add as many ledger lines as we please, but any number of lines beyond 3 ledger lines makes for a clumsy read, and that's why we have the bass clef, which we'll learn about later on. Now we'll go on to the notes above the G note. As we said, if it's a G, then one step above it will have an A. Then B, C, an octave above middle C, D, on the fourth staff line, E, F, G, above the fifth line. And again, we're out of lines. This time, we'll add ledger lines above the staff. A will be located on the first ledger line, B above it, C on the second ledger line, D above it, and so on. Once again, if we add too many ledger lines, we'll make reading the music very clumsy. We'll see a solution for this later on. Right now, it's important to know how to write and read the notes in the first octave. A good way to spot them at first would be to memorize 3 notes from which we can find the rest. These notes will be C, G, and the C above it. The middle C we'll remember by being the first ledger line under the staff. The G above it we'll remember by being on the second line like the treble clef. The higher C we just have to memorize. So once we spot a G note, an F note will be right below it. If it's a middle C, the note right above it is D. If it's a higher octave C, the note below it is B, and so on.